Hello, 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 hello. I'm just going to give it a minute for people to jump in. If you're watching this as the replay, say #replay. Let me know that you are watching this, even if you're doing it later. It's been a minute since I've been here. So many changes that have been happening in my life as an oracle, and of course my life as a human girl. Good changes though. It just means that I've been so busy doing a lot of work sessions. So I thought I should come here and come share some updates, come and contemplate with you. Today I want us to contemplate on ancestral synthesis. So if you are here, you're joining, say hello, let me know that you're here. #warrior of light. You know, that's our check-in. #warrior of light. So my energy is mellow today because first of all, it's raining, like the weather here, and I'm not like a fan of winter, really. And I'm also doing a cleanse, a green juice cleanse. I'm on day 5, so energy, tends to go a little low when you're doing these liquid cleanses. Hello, Lisadi. Hello, Princess. Hello, Humi-san. Thank you all for joining. Ooh, so good. Yes, okay, so welcome back. For those who are joining now, today we're doing some energetic updates as well as a contemplation on ancestral synthesis. I really just feel like we need to kind of like, sometimes review, return back to what is it that we're really doing as genetic pathcutters, right? So what is it that we're doing? And for me, I believe that the essence of what we're doing is ancestral synthesis. So we're going to explain what that is, big words, but yes, we will break them down. Yes, okay, so let's jump into the update. So the first thing that I want to update is one, healing with the divine grandmothers is open, right? So this is my ancestral healing course. I've done it a couple of times, and this time around it's a little different. I'm doing it differently because it's an introductory course to ancestral healing, ancestral alchemy, ancestral synthesis, essentially. I have arranged it in a way that allows you to come and integrate these teachings, which is that it's going to be like a workshop model, right? So we're going to workshop this in one Sunday, and then we'll come the next month to workshop the next part of it, and then the last month. So it's going to be 3-part series, workshop series. And as a workshop series, we are particularly healing with the divine grandmothers is particularly about healing the feminine, right? So it's healing the feminine, healing the women. So we are going to be working with the grandmother energies that we are all individually connected to as well as collectively connected to, right? We are also going to be doing healing of our bloodlines, but we're in this time around, we're particularly doing it from a feminine perspective, right? From a grandmother perspective, but we will be healing both bloodlines, mother line and father line as well, right? And the last workshop will be about the feminine Christ mission, and I'm really excited about this part is because we are awakening the feminine version, I guess we could say that, or the feminine aspect of the Christ, which I think a lot of the time when people hear the word Christ, they connect it to Yeshua, to Jesus, and then that's a masculine energy. And sometimes for the women, we're like, but what does that look like for the feminine? Of course, the Christ as a big energy, as an impulse, as a stream, is so much bigger than most people understand. And it definitely has the feminine and the masculine. Although in recent root races, we have been seeing that feminine impulse being initiated into our world through the masculine. It doesn't mean it's not also there as the feminine. So we are going to be returning that. It's going to be, I'm really excited about that. Mostly because a lot of genetic pathcutters are actually here for the feminine Christ initiation, right? So I'm going to be teaching this, bringing this new concept, if it's new for you, in the Healing with the Divine Grandmothers. We are starting next week, Sunday. You can check out my website to read about it. The offer is really one of the lowest investment really that is available. So if you've been wanting to work with me, this is probably the lowest I would ever charge anything, right? So take this great opportunity to come and do this work, right? So the other exciting thing about this time around Healing with the Divine Grandmothers, well, I mean, in all the other rounds I've done this, but I've never really shared that I will be doing channeling or transmissions coming from your specific grandmother energies, specifically for you, allowing the grandmothers through me as a vessel. And it's a different form of channeling. This is why I'm a little hesitant to say channeling, but I guess that will be more explainable, where you have an opportunity to ask a question, receive a message while we're doing these workshops. So this is pretty cool. So check out that, and I hope to see you there. Yay. Okay, so let's jump to today. Let's start with hi to me. I absolutely love the beautiful words you bring into this work. Ancestral synthesis. Love it. Yeah. It's really my higher self. She's the one who is incredible with language, because she comes and says, I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Oh yes. So, but before we jump into the ancestral synthesis, let's do just some updates. What's been going on? What's been going on with you, loves? Tell me in the chat, just the general mood that you feel has been unfolding for you in the last 3 weeks, right? Last month. This April, let's just say April, let's not go too much ahead, it's only energy. This April, right? Let me know. Ooh, electric. Oh, that is exciting. And so true, because the energy in April has been so expanded and activating. This is obviously, when we're looking at it from a tropical astrology, Aries is an action-oriented energy. It has a lot of Martian energy, Mars, which is a masculine energy, and it's all about action. I know this because I'm Arian in tropical astrology. I am Pisces in sidereal, right? In reality, if you are into astrology, you should definitely check out sidereal, because it's a whole entire live stream, honestly, about why. But anyway, so high energy for Michelle, chaos, fast. Great, I love that you guys are telling me this. So let me explain the chaos. So the chaos, this is not just you, Michelle, it's everyone. Actually, if you've noticed, it's a collective energy, right? So this one is connected to the Neptune in conjunction to Jupiter that happened in April 12th. Right, so we had these big planets connecting together, and they haven't done this in 165 years, right? And when they come together, they create this chaotic energy in the planet, right? It's important for us to always know that the earth is influenced by the inner planets in the Milky Way galaxy, right? So these planets, however way they move, they will affect us, right? So they have been affecting us from a chaotic energy. And this is in alignment with something that also came through for me, which has also been confirmed by other fellow oracles and shamans, right? Every few years, there is sometimes, especially since we entered what we call the stellar activation cycle, where we are evolving much faster, right? We have been feeling that, right? Like things are moving so fast. Like if you have not been talking to your friend and then 2 weeks later you talk, you're like, ma'am, I don't know where to begin because so much is happening. That's because of this stellar activation cycle we are in, right? And so with the stellar activation cycle, the Earth herself is going through rapid changes, right? And many choices that the spirit of the Earth and the galactic worlds are also observing and influencing are happening right now. So we've been having where the Earth has been changing choices, and when she does, she starts to have what we call a new grid, right? So beginning towards the end of March, I remember March 25th, I got this update from the Guardians that Earth just got a new grid, an upgrade, and like a new grid is being anchored. So what's a new grid? What does that mean? I thought about it. I was like, really, the simplest way, it's not the exact, but the simplest way is like if someone that you know loses weight so radically that they kind of get a new body, right? So they have this new body now. Obviously, if this person had a particular body, that meant that the way that they moved in the world, the way that they experienced that reality will be very different from how they will experience it when they have lost the weight, they've lost the density that they've been carrying, right? Or vice versa, someone who gains weight as well, their life will change in terms of how they feel, how they move, right? So a new grid, we could think of it like a new body, but it's more of in the insides of the body of Earth that she got a new grid. And you know how we do talk about how every 7 years you actually are a different person because your cells have regenerated, and so you are essentially a new person. So a new grid is something similar to that. Does that make sense? Let me know. Ooh. So because of that, this new grid, just like any change that happens with a person, when there is a change, there is always this chaos that is happening. It's because it's not really chaos, it's purification. A purification that happens because you are shifting your energy from one version of yourself to another. So the Earth has been particularly purifying herself. Beginning of the year, I got also message coming through that the waters will be very big this year, right? The water keepers, the water bearers are here. They're here to cleanse the Earth and purify the Earth, right? And this is in preparation to the next level of initiation of Earth as well, which we'll get into another time. But for now, the waters have been purifying the Earth, and this is why in my country we do not have rain, usually typically in April, or this weather we've been having, right? And the same is true for other countries as well. I know there's something that happened in South Africa with water. I don't know if it was a hurricane. South Africans, please help me. Something big happened in your country recently. I don't know if it was in Durban, and a lot of people lost lives. They lost their homes. It has something to do with water, right? I believe so. Let me know in the chat. right? So it's this new grid and Neptune in conjunction to Jupiter, right? Yes, okay, floods in KZN. Okay, I was completely lost. Yeah, all right. So yes, Neptune in conjunction with Jupiter and this new grid that anchored has created this chaotic energy. The Earth made a big decision for us that kind of like catapulted us to a new timeline, right? And if you are attuned, you will notice something cracked energetically between March, April, when we moved into this month. Something, it feels different, right? The energy feels different. And that's because she made this new decision that kind of like is moving her to, it is a positive timeline. Of course, it will come through what appears as chaotic for us as human beings, but it's really just that purification. She's purifying herself because she is preparing for an initiation that will happen to her, that happens to planets. It's called planetary ascension at a particular point in that journey, in that evolution, right? So this chaotic energy that you shared, Michelle, it's been happening collectively, and it's very fast. The energy is very fast. The things are moving very fast, right? Yes, and so there is a lot of expansion. Essentially, what happened is we did a quantum leap. We leaped from one dimension of reality to another, essentially. So you may have noticed in like leaps in your relationships, leaps in things, leaps in your manifestation, because the Earth jumped, she leaped. It's so beautiful when you actually kind of like comprehend it. I moved every time when I integrate this, right? So these energies that are obviously inviting you to let go of certain things that are from the old grid, right? The new grid has a certain frequency, and that frequency is for us to fully feel and experience these quantum leaps. There is that pure intention to be like, just have these intentions of who you want to be, right? How you want to move in the world, the ways you want to love, relate to people, how as a genetic pathcutter you choose to be an ambassador of light, an ambassador of source God, right? An ambassador of evolution of consciousness, right? The more you choose this, you decide, the more this new grid will support you. The more we are still moving with fear, which a lot of the old grid had a lot of fear for a lot of us because of what happened in the last 2 years. So that kind of created this unsettling energy for most people, right? I don't know about you, but like, yeah. So that fear needs to be healed, needs to be released, and for you to like, so this is important. When I talk about having pure intention, choosing, deciding on a positive timeline, deciding on a positive timeline does not automatically mean your life will look positive. As a genetic pathcutters, one of the things we need to accept is that we are on a different timeline from other people who are not here to heal themselves and heal their bloodline in this current timeline, in this current time. Because not everyone is doing this, right? Not everyone is watching me, trying to figure out what I'm talking about, right? So when you accept that your path, your life is going to unfold differently from the normal person, and also if you understand this change of grids, it's often felt first by you, the genetic pathcutter. You see this more than the human, the other human, right? You see this, you feel this, but the other good news is you are impacted by it also faster when you allow yourself to connect with this energy, right? If you accept like, okay, there is an invitation here, okay, let me step into it, right? one of the other reasons why I'm doing healing with the divine grandmothers is because the feminine collective just got an upgrade on that mission, right? So this is women here who are watching, who are holding feminine energy, right? So here I am particularly talking about the feminine host. If you are hosting the feminine in you, so it's not necessarily about the body, but that you are holding more of that feminine energy and that feminine field. So we got new missions. So this will appear like literally you just got a new job, a promotion, or a new path just opened up, or you are being asked to step into something you've been avoiding for a while now. That is the hard one. And this is interesting because in one of the council meetings that we had as the feminine, because yes, we do have council meetings in the astral, in the dreamland, dreamscape. Yes, right? One of the things that was happening there is how many women were like, feminine, not say women, feminine beings were like, oh my God, we are not ready for this. This is too difficult. Oh my God, and it's important to know it's not that it's difficult, it's that the feminine is more attuned to spirit, right? It's just our okay. Can you hear me? I know sometimes that distracts my voice. Hello, loves. Are you able to hear me? Yes. Oh, thank God, I was so afraid. Yes. So, yes. So we've got this new upgrade of missions. So Neptune conjunction in Jupiter, Aryan energy, right? Virgo moon, all of these planetary bodies, they are actually supporting us to step into taking the actions. And then all the other things I've spoken about. So this is a time for taking action. Okay? So it's time to take all the action. Okay, so that's the update. Does this resonate, make sense? Let me know before we jump into what I really did want to contemplate about. Of course, it's still related to what we're talking about. Yay. Let me check what y'all are saying. Here for the profound activating language. Yeah, I know you love my language. To me. Yes, okay. So we are all caught up. I know I came in, I was like boom, 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 boom. Update. Yeah. Woo. So we are all caught up. Oh, yes. Tumi, you mentioned something. The reason why I mentioned about the new missions is connected to what you spoke about, which is the masculine, right? How the masculine is stepping up to support the feminine. So this is not actually, I know, I say this all the time, that it's not often just an individual thing. It's actually happening because there is a shift that happened with the masculine. And actually this shift happened with the masculine because the feminine has been doing a lot of work with their masculine wounds. And so the more you heal your masculine wounds and how you relate to the masculine, the more that drop of density and anger and sadness and grief we have towards the masculine, the more it also lifts and creates a lightness for the masculine to be able to support us. Because you see, the masculine can feel our sadness, our anger, and our grief towards them. And sometimes that creates distortions for them where they don't know how to really show up for us, because they feel like they will disappoint us. They will not be what we need, right? So sometimes it's not even that the masculine is doing healing, it's the feminine is doing so much healing that it ripples out, and the masculine is able to step into because he feels this welcoming energy from the feminine, and so they can step up and they can help us. So this is one of the things we spoke about in the council, that feminine collective meeting, that right now as the feminine, we do have a responsibility at some level to also do healing of our masculine wounded, to support our men. Why must we support our men? Because in this planet, the feminine has been oppressed, suppressed, particularly with regards to her physical vessel, right? The impact of the pain we've received from the masculine has been deeply felt in our physical, particularly the womb area, the sacral center, right? And the same wounding has happened to the masculine. So many things happening to me right now, so many remembrance I'm having, because I've been doing a lot of field work this month. So while the feminine, we've been like suppressed and experienced a lot of pain in the sacral, the masculine has been suppressed, oppressed, and broken here in the mind, in the third eye, right? And crown, right? Crown and third eye has been affected for the masculine, which means it's difficult for them. It's not that all men, but it's difficult for the masculine to fully open themselves up to spirit, the way it seems to be kind of like natural for the women, because they have a wounding here. They have interfaces, we call them, right? Overlays that stops them from having that inclination to spirituality the way the feminine does, right? So this is why when we do spiritual work, they kind of do respond, right? They respond. It's pretty beautiful. Yeah, so I've been seeing and feeling and hearing from warriors about shifts happening in the masculine, and this is how that's happening. Yeah, so keep doing your masculine wound work. I know it's so like frustrating. You're like, why must I be the one to heal it? But it has to be someone, and you are clearly, obviously qualified to do it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So let's move from updates. How long have I been doing this? I just always kind of get worried with my phone. It can only do like 1 hour here. I think I've been talking for like 30 minutes or something, 20 minutes maybe. So I started at probably 6:07. What time is it now? Let me know. So I can pace myself properly. So Akwana, you're talking about being activated. Definitely, same here. I'm constantly activated. Yes, I will save this video, Giles. Yes. Okay, so I've done 30 minutes. Okay, let's try to do the synthesis in 30 minutes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Whew. So the energy just got activated for me. So if I move in very strange ways, it's just spirit. Spirit is here, okay? Do not freak out. It's nothing crazy. Okay. Ancestral synthesis. Why ancestral synthesis? Because if you did not know, that's what you are here to do. in this world. Of course, there are other things you're doing, but as a genetic path cutter, as a person who consider themselves Manabadimu, right, as a person who gets heartbroken by the state of the family, in the home, in your home, as well as the collective human race, this is what you're doing, ancestral synthesis. Whew. Okay. So what is ancestral synthesis, right? So first of all, ancestral, just want to explain a little bit of this. When we talk about ancestral or ancestry, we are really talking about the particular ways in which a person, that essence, chooses to incarnate into a timeline, into a planet, right? And they do that through specifically a stream, like a river, right? And that river is filled with memory, right, of the previous people who passed through that river. And if we think there are countless multitude, infinite rivers running, and that each river represents a lineage or an ancestry, when we are talking that, this is your ancestry, we're saying this is the river in which I've incarnated. And in this river, these are the memories that are kept here, preserved. In this river, this is the essence and the frequency. Right? This river is holding the essence of love. This one is holding the essence of healing. This one is holding the essence of freedom. Different essences held by the different rivers. So ancestry is the stream, the river of life that you have incarnated into. That river of life, as it is flowing here on earth, I want you to imagine up above there are other versions of the same river going up and up in the dimensions of God. So ancestry is not just the blood you incarnated in, it's also all the other lineages that you are connected to as a soul. Does that make sense? That's it. That's what ancestry is. A lot of the time, as genetic pathcutters, in the beginning of our journey, we obsess about it being the people you were born, like the family you were born into, which is true. But I want you to know it's only a percentage. Ancestry is much bigger than that, right? It's so much bigger because you are connected not to one river, to many rivers as a soul, right? But the river you are currently in, which is the family you are currently in, greatly influences the life you are having today. The river you are currently incarnated in is part of your mission. You are here to clean the river, right? You are here to clean the river. That's what genetic synthesis is to come and clean all the other gunk that got stuck in underneath the river. You know, people came and they threw stuff in the river. So you're here to kind of like drain all of that energy that's no longer making the river clean, right? So you are just kind of like clean up crew. We are clean up crew. We're cleaning stuff here, right? Does that make sense? Of course, I did not know that this is how I will explain it today, but it makes sense to me. So you have this river. So how do you clean up the river? Right? In ancient times, a lot of the cleaning up will involve, we create something that will help us take the dirty stuff, the loosh out of the river, right? And we will have different tools, right? And those different tools will be things like cleansing with herbs, right? You are cleansing the river with the herbs, putting new medicine to neutralize, right? To synthesize the dirt in the river, the dirt in the DNA, the dirt in your ancestry, right? That's why you're taking that medicine and putting it in your body, right? Either drinking it or physically cleansing the physical body. You are cleansing the river, right? You're allowing the medicine to heal the river, right? So that's one of the main ways that we heal, cleanse the river, our DNA, our ancestry. What I wanted to share today is with the new grid, and not the one that just currently upgraded. The new grid that I'm talking about is essentially our generation. When we incarnated, those of us who came in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, right? What we call the indigos or the star seeds or the wanderers or genetic pathcutters. We came, and when we got here, we're like, we are gonna need different tools. These ones, they work to a certain level. We need others, right? So we are the team that is here figuring out all the other things. And what we kind of figured out is, we need to mix and use different tools, right? And we need to cover the entire river, right? So while before maybe they thought, let's put the medicine at the beginning of the river, the medicine should be able to flow all the way. Now we're like, no, we need to put the medicine in every part. You know what I mean? So we are being more multidimensional with it, right? We are being multidimensional with it. So some of the things we discovered as the genetic pathcutters, or we came up with, was what will happen if we are no longer focusing too much in the physical river, the physical DNA, the physical ancestry, and we work with the spiritual or the etheric version of this river. Remember I said the rivers have other versions. We work from above, right? Will that change? Will that make the shifts faster? And cue in what now people talk about, quantum, multidimensional. That's the new synthesis. That's the new way we are cleaning the DNA, the ancestry. Right? We're now no longer just focusing on the physical. We are, because it was effective at a certain level, to a certain degree, but now we need to go deeper, because the impact, the process, the changes they were taking a long time. Now we have to figure out, how do we do this in such a way that it doesn't take so many lifetimes and so many people, children, to be born to come and clean the same river, right? And so now it's, we have figured out that if we move from up spirit to here, the river will be energetically changed, right? It will be affected when we also shifted from above. So that has looked like the new genetic pathcutter is no longer just working with the physical tools, the medicine, and working with elemental medicine of going to the mountains, going to the rivers. Those work definitely. We will probably continue to work with them for a couple hundred more years, or maybe thousands of years. We don't know. But right now, the new ways of synthesizing is we are now bringing different tools, but most of them is we realize we can work with them from our spiritual selves, and then it moves down to the physical self. And so it is for that reason that if you are a genetic pathcutter, one of the most fundamental process right now in the new grid for you to see the changes is to work with your I am, higher self, God self, Christ self, whatever name you want to call it. Your spiritual self has to be descended into your body for you to start doing those changes. You have to work with a higher aspect of yourself, right? because your mental mind, all of that, it's programmed. It works with the program of the river that's physical. So that means you are holding the distortions, the fear programmings of your ancestors with you. So that's going to take you a really long time to keep figuring out what is true, what is not true, right? What is of God, what is not of God, what is divine, what is anti-divine, right? And so it feels like, oh my God, I've been healing for so many years and nothing has changed. Now, if you go to the higher aspect and you ask, listen, I've been in this loop. My relationships keep happening like this over and over again. I don't know how to change them. Please explain to me what's happening and how do I heal this? Can we heal this? Actually, you don't even say, can we heal this? You can say, can you heal it? You as my higher self, let's collapse this pain. Let's heal this pain. Right? So ancestral synthesis will have to work with the inner being, the inner spirit, the inner Christ, the inner Son that is inside you. You have to illuminate back this energy of your spirit and begin to expand it in your bodies and allow it to begin to become part of you. Embody this, right? That's a new process. That's the new way. We are realizing it's not just about the physical tools. We can literally have, as co-creators, have the ability to generate the same frequency that the sun generates. You can generate it, but through the work that you're doing internally. I know I just kind of went PhD on you, I understand, but are you with me? What's speaking to you? What are you understanding? Let me know. Right? So in ancestral synthesis as well, we can no longer move with division, with cognitive dissonance in our mind. What does that mean? Let me know how many of us in our awakening we have struggled to integrate Badimu Limudim, ancestors and God. How many of us have felt like, oh, how does this work? How do I believe in God? How do I believe in ancestors? And then how do I believe in Christ? And how do I believe in God or ancestors? Right? And where does my higher self, God self, Christ self come in? Oh my God, these ideas, they look and feel different to me. And so sometimes I'm like, can I partner and pray? How do I pray now? Do I pray like when I was doing it at church? Is it different? How does this work? Right? Tell me, say yes in the chat if this has been an issue for you. Right? In the chat, let me see how many of us are struggling with synthesizing, bringing these together to balance all these teachings such that you can say Christ, you can say God, you can say ancestors, and you see how each part is working together. Right? Yes. Took me a long time to have a balance in Mudimu, but yes, definitely. Right? It used to be an issue. Right? So we are actually the team, ground crew team that has to come and bridge these ideas that feel conflicting sometimes. Right? All the way to the mind, to the spirit, such that there isn't a part of you that's sometimes feeling guilty to, to say that you're doing ancestral work to certain people. There's a part of you that feels like Christ is only for Christians. You are not connected to Christ, or that maybe God will not approve that you're working with ancestry as well, right? And yes, right now with the holiday, are you as a genetic pathcutter comfortable celebrating this holiday? Right? How do we integrate that? So the synthesis is to bring all these different traditions, because all traditions essentially have one essence, which is really the essence of God, right? Returning to God. Like even ancestry, our ancestors are helping us return to God. Just does not matter how you look at it. That's why you're connecting with them, right? And so I know as Genetic Pathcutter, the old timeline will make you feel that you bring that kind of like programming from church, from religion, of worship, and then you begin to worship the ancestors, and it feels off for you somewhere. You know, I've had my warrior saying, Joy, but why must I kneel when I partner? Right? Because we associate kneeling with worship, when kneeling is for reverence, for understanding that you are part of the river. So when you are really kneeling, you are recognizing that the river is also you. The river you call your ancestors is also you, obviously, because you are in the river. So you are your ancestors. So we are not worshipping physical beings, right? It's not worship, it's you are paying reverence and engaging with the river, with the memory, right? Which is also you. You are part of that, right? So these are some of the things we need to synthesize. I know that Genetic Pathcutters are holding back from stepping into their missions because we have not yet synthesized our fears, because we may not yet understand truly what ancestral work is, right? It is not about worship to beings who used to live, because that does not make sense. Like, I know these ancestors used to be your elders, but you've also been their elders in another timeline. But this is about like that they have a bigger view than you, and that's how they support you. But it is not, and this is the problem we have as humanity, to constantly seek external authority. That's how also the church gets sometimes locked into like, my authority is Jesus, or my authority is Muhammad or Krishna. No, your authority is you and the inner spirit within you and the inner God within you, and the highest authority, which is God. And then we can have in between support for sure, right? Yes. So our ancestral synthesis means when you come to ancestral work, yes, you can pray, right? Yes, you can cleanse. Yes, you can meditate. You definitely need to meditate and learn how to go within, right? Yes, you can do past life regressions. Yes, you can do Akashic work. You definitely need to do inner child work. It's not one thing. Ancestral work has never been about the ancestors and just the miasma from your ancestry, the ancestral trauma. Because there isn't anything in this world that is not connected to the river. Your inner child is connected to the river. Your soul is connected to the river. And that is why for me, I have found that ancestry is at the core. Ancestral work, genetic alchemy is at the core of the healing that we need to do. Right? So when we start to work with prayer, we start to work with invocations, we start to work with, yes, ukupatha, we start to work with mantras, and we meditate and we learn to move through dimensions, and we anchor the Christ and we connect with the sun for solar initiation. When we start to understand that it cannot be one way. One way is the mind, and your mind is already programmed. So, I mean, we're not going to just like think this is the way. The way is beyond the higher spirit, right? So the higher spirit functions from a multidimensional level. So ancestral synthesis is the same, right? So we have to bring both. What happens is when we start to bring both, the river in terms of the ancestry, it starts to receive that solar plasma energy, and it begins, the water starts to look actually like crystals. When you clean it as a Genetic Pathcutters, you are making this water crystalline water. And when it's crystalline water, your DNA, we say it's a crystalline DNA. And when you have awakened and cleaned the river to crystalline DNA, of course, every other person connected to that river is going to be affected and influenced by that for the positive. When you have activated your crystalline DNA, things like quantum leaping, quantum manifestation. They happen organically to you because you have returned to the organic river, the original river, essentially. Right? So miracles, they happen with ease for you. Right? Manifestation, happens with ease for you. You will get into divine union in your relationships. You will be doing your higher purpose because you've cleaned your river. There is no longer obstructions that are stopping you, right? But if you feel that there's a part of your life that's not moving, that means there's an obstruction in the river, and that river, that part needs to be cleaned. And we can't make the river crystalline. It can only become crystalline. You don't make it crystalline. It will become, but it only becomes crystalline when you have cleaned it. So meaning your DNA will become crystalline. It will come online once you have released the pain, trauma, miasma from your current DNA strands. Okay, I'm done. That's what I wanted to share today. So that's ancestral synthesis. My point with this was essentially to tell us that we can't look at this from one dimension. We can't keep just going to the rivers and thinking that's it and that's enough. If that's enough, can we look at our communities? Are we seeing the changes? No, we are not, because we have been stuck in a one singular stream, direct way of thinking about spirit, when spirit is a circle, not a straight line. It's moving like this. And this river is actually not straight. It is like this. It's a spiral, right? So because it's a spiral, we must do this from a spiral perspective, which means use all the tools, right? I know this may sound overwhelming, like Joy, all of this is great, but where will I begin? This is what I believe. If I was beginning this, I would definitely begin with connecting with my higher self. And everything that I didn't understand about what Joy said, I would tell my higher self to help me with that, to lead me to the next stage, or to just basically heal. Because as a mind person, as I'm here, I don't know how to do that. Right? So your higher self, and the higher self is the best intermediary for you in your ascension. I know that most people, we want to make an external authority, like my ancestors are my main intermediary, Jesus is my main intermediary. And while that's true, important, if you can have your own inner being be the main intermediary, and yes, you can work with the counsel of Christ, the offices of Christ, you can work with the luminous ancestral helping spirits, but all the time you should always come back to your own inner spirit to ask, okay, is this for me? Is it in resonance, right? So the work to be done, really, the beginning work for you, if you are at the beginning, is to go learn to sit still 10 minutes and connect with the great silence within you. That's it. That's the first medicine. And keep doing this and keep doing this. You will start to see and feel and connect and learn about yourself and about your path and your clean up work in the river. So I, contrary to what you may be told, I am not super supportive of instantly connecting with the ancestors. I am for, let's do it the other way around. Let's connect with the inner being. And then the inner being will lead us to the ancestral team we need to connect with. That's a more like a direct way of doing this. The other one, it feels sometimes for some people, takes quite a lot to figure out the energies you're working with, to figure out what is the direction. But your own inner being, your own inner soul, your I am will know it's you. It's just in a higher version of you, higher dimension of you. Okay, how are we doing with time? Let me know. Yes, I'm done. Does that make sense? Let me know. Okay, let me just check if there was any questions here, because I think I have some. PhD material. You all know I'm all about the PhD. My warrior mystery school students will tell you. Okay, so Giles, you're asking, how do we revise the spells or remove under possessed land collectively and healed cast beings and land that is not controlled by us, particularly in South Africa? Great question. Okay, so yeah, this may be like PhD for other people, but the land, just like you, it has the way that you have blood in your body, the land also has like these blood and these meridian points, right? And these are called ley lines and grids, right? So South Africa has a particular ley line that's running through it, and also a grid that's running through it. What I have received is that the ley line in South Africa are particularly called the dragon ley lines, and the dragon ley lines are connected to fire, to solar, to the sun, right? And this is why just energetically South Africa is very active and powerful and very physical. You feel the energy of the land of South Africa, and also the people of South Africa are all about the action, right? And that incredible energy gifts that South Africa has is connected to the land, right? Everything is connected to the body of earth. So yes, there has definitely been infiltration in the land of South Africa that has actually kind of like reversed the dragon energy moving, the organic primal energy, and it's now no longer moving properly, right? So what can you do about that? I mean, there are many grid workers who are working in your land right now, those who are initiated. But for you, if you're like, I don't know what Joy is talking about and I'm not initiated, so what does that mean? This is what you do. You sing for the land. Wake up and sing and dance for the land with the intention that you are reversing the fire that is now no longer going properly, right? And you pray for the land, right? And you ask the guardians of the land to wake up, because actually one of the things, the spell has been that our guardians have been sleeping and they didn't choose to sleep, but that's kind of like the spell that they've been in. So you pray and ask for the guardians to wake up and just sing whatever the music is, right? If you use your own sound, not play music from wherever, but your own sound to sing. So you sit and you sing. And so the next one, I wouldn't want you to do it too much, but you can just start with your house before you feel comfortable with that, which will be what we call running Christ light, which is essentially you imagine a golden stream of light moving from up above, from the sun through you, and then you begin to just expand it across your house and the land that your house is in. You're streaming Christ energy there, right? Don't go all out and do this to the whole of Johannesburg, okay? Just start with your house for a couple of weeks, see any changes and shifts, and then you keep growing from there. So that's what you can do. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. With the changes that are also happening, I want you to know, as Genetic Pathcutters, we have the ability to change these changes. Like something that is physical, like for example, let's talk about just briefly like the regulations that are happening right now because of, don't want to say that because my video will get flagged, but those regulations, especially when we see that are not good for humanity, you can also pray about this and ask for changes, right? I want you all to also know, like the African grid, the guardians who are here, the original guardians, are so ancient and so powerful, but we do need to help aspects of them to also wake up, because they've just not been really helping, because they are kind of like in a spell. That we call them the sleeping kins. So we have a lot of sleeping kins in our lands. So this applies also to Botswana, right? Regulations we see happening and we're not into that. As spiritual people who have spiritual missions, we can do a lot of changes when we come together to pray and to ask for higher support. Okay? Yes. Okay, thank you, my loves, for joining me. I am gonna save this video because you are requesting that, and yeah, I don't want it to die because my phone sometimes overheats. So I hope, yes, this was PhD, but I hope that you received that. So go be the ambassador of light. Understand that you are greatly supported and there is so much more you can do. And these teachings, although they're PhD, there's a reason why you are here, because you are meant to hear this, right? And one day it will all make sense. It will all land what I've been talking about, okay? Bye.